All right, let's take a look at something that can help us and make our life easier when we want to deal with windowed events. Rather than having to write implementations for all 7 methods every time we want to handle a window event, we can utilize something called the WindowAdapter class. And this can be used, this is actually what we call an abstract class. And what this means is we can use this class to make our lives a little easier, and it will handle, it by default handles all of those events. It doesn't do anything, but by default it does handle all of the events with blank implementations. We cannot create an instance of the WindowAdapter class, but we can extend it or inherit it to handle only those windowing events that we are interested in. Now again, the WindowAdapter is an abstract class, so we're not going to make an object directly from it. What is an abstract class? Think of an abstract class, it's very similar to an interface. Think of it as a partially completed class. There are, we can't instantiate it, we can't create objects from it, but it does have some implementation in its methods. That implementation may be as simple as doing nothing or sending some messages, but there are other parts of it that aren't finished. And because those parts aren't finished, we can't create objects directly from it. So what has to happen is we have to create our own classes and then inherit from an abstract class, implementing anything that it has left out. And then of course we can override anything that it provides that doesn't do what we want it to do. Here you have an example of a class definition with what we call an inner class. You can define multiple classes in the same file. It's called the setup is called an inner class setup, and this is what we have here. What I want you to pay attention to right now is this right here. What you're looking at is the text of the window handler class. We created a window handler class that extends the WindowAdapter abstract class. And so what happens is the WindowAdapter class handles for us all of the events, all 7 windowing events that might happen. And we simply have to override those that are those that don't do what we want them to do. By default, they really don't do anything. So if we want to do something specific, say when the window is closing, if we want when the window is closing to tell it to close the program or end the program, we can do that. We'll override just that particular method, and we'll call that a day. We could handle the minimize and maximize for some reason, or sending it to the background, and just handle those methods if we so chose. If I take this out of here, if I were to comment this out, this would still work. We're not required to implement any specific methods of the WindowAdapter class, but we can override those that we like. Again, that means that when we want to use this, we have to create our own class. Window Handler is a class that I created. When we get to setting things up in the window and letting Java know how we're going to handle those events, the first thing we're going to have to do is create an instance of that Window Handler class. And then when we call add window listener, instead of specifying this, we would specify the instance name or the object name of the class we created to handle the events. In this case, since Window Handler is the class that's going to be handling the events, we've created an object called myWindowListener. And instead of putting this in here, we put in the name of the object that was defined, to handle the class. We could make this a separate file all into itself, but I just, in this case, couldn't see doing it for 4 lines of code. Again, you'll notice that you'll notice we're missing the implements window listener, or the window listener. We will have to implement that class in this method. You'll see that in the exercises. But again, the Windows Adapter class is here to make your life easier. It doesn't require you to write code for 7 methods that you may or may not use. If you click on the next button, you will be taken to exercise 2, where you will build this class. You will build the inner class, and you will build a test class to demonstrate this. Once you have built those applications successfully from the code I provided, you'll move on to the following slide, which will provide you with a video walkthrough of this application.